Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, and I'm here to help you reach your potential as a leader and a human being. Welcome to Remarkable TV. Today we're talking about being more inclusive. Are you ready? Let's get started. Well, this is the 6th in a series of episodes that I've created based on a blog post that I wrote a few months ago about advice for leaders in 2018. And in that post, I framed this idea, the idea that has become this episode, as more us, less them. So if you think about your organization, you've experienced this, maybe not where you are today, but somewhere in your career, you've experienced what most people call silos, right? Where we've got this department here and this team here and this department over here, and things may be seeming to work okay inside of those, but the interactions between, not so much. They're throwing stuff over the wall to each other and they're not communicating very well and it's not going very well. It's called the silo problem because there's these big walls around us and between us and others. And this really is an us-them problem, isn't it? We're doing fine in here. It's them out there that's the problem. You see, as a leader, we need to be breaking down barriers between groups and between teams so that we can get everybody on the same page, so we can get better results, so we can have everybody focused on the same outcomes, the same mission, the same cause, the same objectives. And so all of this is an idea about inclusion, and that's what I want us to talk about today. I've got 5 pieces of advice for you to help you think about and be more inclusive. So the first one of those is think we. See, when I write, I often step back and say, what pronouns am I using here? Am I using we's and us's, or am I using they's and them's? And we need to be thinking we. And when I read that, I often step back and make adjustments. It also reminds me that maybe my thought process isn't where it needs to be. Am I thinking about the larger collective, or am I just thinking about my team? Now, the second thing, and I've all sort of hinted at it by the way I used my hands a minute ago, my second piece of advice is to draw a bigger circle. If we put more people inside the silo, we don't have that problem anymore, do we? So if we draw a bigger circle, we're being more inclusive. We're thinking about the broader or bigger team. We're thinking about the organization rather than the department. We get everybody wearing the same t-shirt, if you will. If we draw a bigger circle, we're being more inclusive. And that will help us improve communication and reduce these barriers that are getting in our way. Next, help others see that circle. So I got to draw that bigger circle, but then I've got to help others see it. I've got to be continuing to talk about it in that way. Every time there's conversations about those people over there, or the IT department, or the HR department, all due respect to HR and IT, then I've got to be doing some correction, doing some coaching, and helping us all see the bigger picture, that we're all in this together for the greater good of the organization. So if I want to be more inclusive, I've got to think more inclusive, and I've got to coach others to be there too. Next, I've got to watch your language, or you've got to watch your language. Well, I said this a little bit about what I look for in my own writing, but you got to think about this. Am I talking about me, or am I talking about my team? Right? Am I talking about, when I talk about us, am I talking about our team or the larger organization? Watch the language that you're using. It'll give you a clue as to what your thoughts really are. Now, as it turns out, we can also get really tightened in on saying I versus us, and I can be thinking only about myself. That's a whole nother level here. But really what we're talking about is watching our language to make sure that our language matches with the idea of being more inclusive, drawing a circle to get more people engaged, to be thinking about the larger team for the purposes of reaching the organizational outputs and reducing the barriers that would be in our way. And lastly, watch others' language. So pay attention to your own and pay attention to others. When you're hearing a lot of theys, when you're hearing a lot of thems, what you've got is people not taking responsibility themselves and throwing it out on others and not being inclusive. So Part of the way that we coach others in this way is to watch their language and encourage them to think the way we are, to draw a bigger circle, to see our work in that bigger circle, and to use our language as a way to reinforce all of that. Listen, if you do those things, you'll be talking more about us and less about them. You'll be more accountable, there'll be greater ownership, and at the end of the day, you'll get better results. Let me close with today's tweet. Check your leadership language. Look for more we and us and less they and them. Remarkable leaders think inclusively. Well, if you liked this video, did you know that we've put together a series of 13 videos that we call 13 Days to Remarkable Leadership, which each one contains a short story and a leadership principle, along with a tool that you can download and use to apply that lesson. Sounds pretty good, right? What's it cost? It's free. It's called 13 Days for Remarkable Leadership, and we hope that you'll take advantage of it, just like I hope you'll be back here next week for another episode of Remarkable TV.